Hi there, I'm Linda and this is Huttons Valley Permaculture. I'm up here with my bees. I did a check yesterday and they've been very busy. There's lots of honey in these hives, so it's time to do a harvest. In today's video, I'm going to grab some frames from the girls, then take them to the house and show you how I do the extraction. So today I'm just going to harvest from these first two hives, which are my strongest ones. I usually harvest in March, but I'm going to take a box from each of these hives as they are really full. I don't like to add a fifth box because it's too heavy and too hard to manage, so we'll swap out a full box for an empty one. As I've recently added the light blue box to the first colony, it won't be too full and I'll be leaving that in place. Okay, so I've got that box away. The girls are just there quickly cleaning up any of the honey that's spilled. I'm just going to put this box straight back on. Now I'm going to take a couple of these frames and replace it with some empty frames. Look at those girls, always busy. So some of these frames aren't full as yet, so I'll just leave them. Now onto this box. I'm just going to take this top box off, which should be empty enough. So again, I've just cut them a little bit of snow. I don't like to use too much, but it just removes them off the frames, and hopefully I impact less on these ladies as a result. So I'm just going to pop this other box back on top of this one. This hive's generally my least friendly hive, so I like to be in and out as quickly as possible. There they go. I'm here in my laundry now where I set up my extracting equipment. It's a place where it doesn't matter if there's honey getting places, I can clean it up easily and I can keep the bees out of the house and not attract any bees from the outside either. If there's a few bees still in these boxes, they're attracted to the window and the light, so they rarely give me any issues, and then I can just ship them out the door when the opportunity arises. This is a heated knife that you can cut the cappings off with, and that does a good job of it. And if I've missed any bits or they're kind of down like there and you can't get it with the knife, you can scratch the wax with that. And I always like to just have some hot water on hand and a towel just for quick cleanups, because the process is really sticky all the time. So I just, now I'm not an expert, I just kind of do it the best I can and try and get the cappings in the tub. Now this is quite an uneven frame, so it's hard to kind of get the whole lot. The more cappings you can get off in this process, the less you have to filter out, and your the filtering process goes a lot quicker, I have found. So even though it looks like I'm taking lots of honey with it, the bulk honey will still come out in the extractor and the filtering will be a lot quicker. Okay. Now I'm just going, this is really a bit hard to get to, so you can just sort of make sure all the the cells are open. Kind of get on a bit of a roll. So that's that, but you can just double check everything's done, which I think it is. I think this honey over here is a clover honey, and this darker honey here is a lot earlier in the season. So it's, I don't know if it's like wattle or whatever else is in season, kind of in spring. That's Ruby, you can hear in the background. She's always barking at bees. So that's our honey frames all loaded up. Now this is a manual spinner. You just need to get winding with this little crank. And I slowly get faster. Like everything around this place, it's a good workout. So now I'm going to flip the frames and spin them some more. You can already see that there's a lot less honey in those cells, while the other is still full. But there'll be still more to come out of that side. I'll leave the gate open so that it can just filter through. If this basket is filling up, then I'll close the gate to make sure that we don't overflow. But it's the scraped cappings that come through here and then kept in this double filter system. It gets quite a wobble up, but the honey's really starting to come through now. So you've got to keep an eye on that, make sure that doesn't overflow. See down the bottom there, there's quite a bit of honey that's come out of these frames, and there's still more to come. And we go again. Beautiful honey starting to pile up down there. So we've done our final spinning on these 3 frames, and as you can see, they're fairly clear of honey. There's not much left there. But what I'll do, you just take those back to the hive and pop them back on top and leave it for a day, and the bees will really quickly clean out any of the honey that's left. So that's the process. All you need to do is keep going until you've finished all the frames. This is my capping bucket. That's all the caps that I've cut off so far. So you can see there's a lot of honey that comes out when you are uncapping. So at the end of the extraction, I will use the sieve that's currently sieving out all this honey, and I'll just pile all the cappings into here and just leave that overnight. I've extracted about 12 frames already, and the bucket's nearly full. There's 20 kilos or so in here. So I'm going to just fill my jars now before I finish off the rest of the frames. And I've only got the one Honeygate bucket, so I'll refill that once I'm finished here. days after my honey harvest, and I'm just still slowly filtering out the honey out of my wax cappings. I've got this bucket load to do still. It can take a little while for it to all drip through. So I pop it in the bath and then it's sort of a set and forget, and it can just do its thing and I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to just tip that into this bucket and get that out the way. The honey has mostly come out of this now and they're fairly dry. So you can see there's still a little bit of honey slowly going through. The filter does get a bit clogged up and I'll have to keep an eye on that, but I'm just going to whack in these other cappings and just sort of see how they go. I might try and unclear it if it's really going slowly. Okay, so I've still got plenty left in there, so I'll have to go again, but I'm going to leave this for another 24 hours or so to let that all start to drip out of there. As part of the rendering process, I just put it in water, which dissolves the honey, and you can kind of just keep filtering it before you sort of heat it up in the render process. I just kind of break up the lumps, which helps to ensure that all the honey in there dissolves. This is the last batch of my beeswax filtering, and I think it's dry enough. I'm going to just move this on now. There is just a little bit of honey still left in there, but I'm happy to move it on. It's been quite a few days now, so I'm just going to get this going. But if we can have a look under here, that's quite a lot of honey just to come out of those cappings. You can maybe make out in the bucket, it's sort of up to here. Now 20 kilos is about up to that point, so you know, that's like 5 or 7 kilos just out of those cappings. Now that I've got the cappings into this bucket, I just leave it for the honey to dissolve, and I leave it for 24 hours. I'm in no rush. So I'll leave that, then I'll filter it out, add some more water, leave it another 24 hours, and I'll keep doing that and draining it until the water runs clear. So I just filter out the water. You can see that there's quite a bit of colour in that water, so that's quite a bit of dissolved honey. And I've just put the wax back in the bucket. Now just put the water in again, and I'll just leave that for another, 12, 24 hours, and just keep filtering it until the water runs fairly clear. Okay, that water's looking clear. There's no yellowness to it, so I think the honey's out. So we're good to go with the next step. I've got an old saucepan that I use for rendering my wax because you can't get them very clean. All you need to do is put your wax into that, then fill this with water and pop it on the stove. I just heat that up. The wax is melted now, so I'm just going to turn this off and just leave it at room temperature. And as the water cools down, the beeswax will solidify. I've left this overnight and it's all cooled now. And you can see actually a lot of the stuff we want to get out is actually floated to the top rather than the bottom, as I usually see. So all I'm going to do now is get all of this out of here and just scrape off as much of this. I'll probably dig some of that out and get that out, and then heat it all up again. You can filter the wax, but it's a lot more mucking around, and I've tried that method, and then you get left with whatever you use to filter it, like the cheesecloth or something. So I just go through and scrape off as much of this as I can without wasting too much of the wax. So scrape off the bottom and put it back in the water and put it all round again. I've finished scraping, so that's my scrapings. There is a little bit of wax there, but not too much, no more than if I'd filtered it with some cheesecloth. So that's my scraped off pieces of wax. So you can see there's still quite a bit of debris in there that needs to come out. So we're just going to boil that up again and repeat the process. Hopefully all those little impurities will drop to the bottom this time and be easily scraped off. For my last rendering of this fat, I've transferred to a smaller saucepan, which means there's less surface area to kind of clean off, and you get a bigger lump and less of the rubbish. So I'm going to scrape that off. So it's still got stuff at the bottom that we want to remove. So I'm going to scrape that off, but most of it is pretty good. If it depends what I'm going to use it for, whether I would clean it up anymore. So that's it there now. It's relatively nice clean piece of wax, which I can just store in the cupboard. So once I've decided what I'll do with the wax, I might decide to clarify it further just by filtering it. If I was just to be melting this down to paint on the frames to put back in the beehives, this is perfectly good to go. So that's my harvest done from my hives. I've got my honey in the jars and I've got my beeswax, which I'll be working out what I'll be doing with that soon. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.